RGB mechanical-ish keyboard from a big name manufacturer sounds pretty good. I'm Rio Gian and welcome to the channel. This keyboard has that minimalistic design and overall small footprint despite it being a full-size keyboard. The layout is standard, which is good for finding aftermarket keycaps. There is a volume scroll wheel, which the company labeled it as dedicated media controls. In some ways, I guess this does make sense, but when I think about dedicated media controls, I'm thinking about the pause, play, seek, and scroll wheel, but to each of it on their own. That doesn't really sound right. There are quick select profiles where navigation keys is at. I like the font. It's more on the professional side, so you can take this keyboard to work without having people paying too much attention to it. But people might get annoyed by the noise, so talk it over with your coworker beforehand. There is a screen on the right side and you can upload images so that the screen will display things for you. You can actually draw on the software and the screen will display it. It's a pretty neat trick, and honestly it's up to the user to make the best of the screen, but from personal use I would basically write out my name and tell my coworkers about it, have a nice laugh. This is also one of those keyboards where they don't have indicator lights. The keys are the indicators. A good example is to look at the numlock button. So this might mess with your setup if you're really OCD about that. Overall, I would say this keyboard looks and feel very premium. This is something that you can feel right away it's a higher end product compared to the lower tier brands. So in some cases, I guess you do get what you pay for. So from reading the article on this switch, it's basically a mechanical blue switch, but the way how it actuates is like a membrane switch. At first I would think you would have to bottom out the keys to actuate, but you don't. At some point the key would register without you having to bottom out the key. So the way how they explain it is that the way how the switch is activated is where they save the cost down to you, the consumer. Honestly, this is beyond me in terms of explaining it, but it feels mechanical. And for the most part, I think it's mechanical because they do use mechanical parts to make the switch. In terms of everyday, this is similar to an Ultemu Blue where you feel the weight of the switch, unlike optical switches where it's lighter. The sound is deep and it doesn't scratch like MX Blues. So if this sounds good to you, then this keyboard should be in the shortlist. In terms of reliability and longevity, I honestly think it would still last longer than you do. So there's a good chance you would replace the keyboard for something else out of boredom rather than because the keyboard's not working. Anyways, here's what the keyboard sounds like. This keyboard uses cherry stabilizers, which is nice because it's easy to clean, and if you don't clean your keyboard or you don't care about the stabilizer, then this doesn't matter to you. Personally, I would take cherry stabilizers because it's easier to clean, but the longer keys don't feel as good as the Co-Star, but it's not a big deal for me. If it is for you, then you might want to skip this one. This keyboard rocks the thin ABS caps that comes in most of the mainstream keyboard manufacturer. SteelSeries is a mainstream keyboard manufacturer, so I'm not surprised that they actually use ABS thin caps. It looks clean, it looks nice, but it's gonna be one of those keycaps where it catches oil over time. That can be annoying to some people, and if this is you, then, well, forget it. But then again, you can always just look for aftermarket keycaps, so if this is you and you want to look at aftermarket keycaps, just kind of be prepared to spend an additional 30, 40, maybe $50 or more depending on your budget for aftermarket keycap sets. The flip-up feet does have rubber on them, and it's one of those feet where the rubber is on both sides, so when you put the feet down, it acts as a rubber pad as well. The cable's management routes, which is nice, is a nice touch to have if especially you have like more complicated setups. The cable is rubber, and they also have Velcro, which is nice so that you can tie up when you travel with the keyboard. The USB tip is silver, so some of you might like it and others might not. The wrist rest is hard plastic, but it's magnetic, so it's really not all that bad. But if you don't care for wrist rest, then probably throw this one away too. If you do care for this wrist rest, it doesn't feel all that bad to the touch, but if you press hard, it does feel uncomfortable for a long period of time. For the money, I would have soft padded wrist rests, but oh well. I like how user-friendly the software is, and every single key is macroable, which is a nice touch. For those that edit lots of videos and wants a separate keyboard for macros, there are layers of lighting effects, and they split the lighting effects into 3 categories. This is a really nice touch because I don't think Corsair or Razer thought about this when they made their software. Since this is a big manufacturer, there's always going to be updates to fix bugs, so this is really nice. Overall, I'm very happy with the software. Honestly, for $100, you can do better, but you can also do worse because there are basic premium keyboards that run for $100 and they don't have this many features. And then there's also full RGB mechanical keyboards that does go for less. But the important thing here to know is that some of those cheaper keyboards might not have the best software. When you're spending top dollar for a gaming keyboard, the software is a good chunk of the cost at this point in the game. You're now paying for lighting effects and flagship innovative features that are basically gimmicks, and it might prove some value to some people. For $100, I would recommend this keyboard over something like the Ornata because this is a very close to a mechanical keyboard. At the end of the day, your money, your choice. If you want to get it and support me at the same time, links on the bottom. Remember to click subscribe, the bell, like, comment for more content. You guys stay awesome.